Abused, branded, and sold for sex. Tonight and all next week, ABC Action News will be shining a light on human trafficking and the permanent marks it leaves on women and children. I-Team investigator Kylie McGivern joins us now with an inside look of how it's happening right here in the Bay Area. Kylie, this is a huge project the entire I-Team is doing.
It is. It was really all hands on deck. For the last 9 months, what we've been doing is meeting with different community leaders to really get a pulse on what sex trafficking looks like in our area, and specifically focusing in on children, which obviously is one of the hardest topics that you can talk about. But we think that this project is important to show that it's not talking about kids coming in from other countries. We're talking about our kids right here, and it was very eye-opening.
And now, so it starts tonight and then it runs all through next week. So you guys are taking a lot of different angles and covering several different subtopics. So can you break that down for us?
Yes. So starting tonight, for one of them, is talking about branding of women and children, tattoos that are really showing the marks from these pimps and these traffickers. Mm-hmm. Then we also segue into basically what this world looks like through different eyes. And the woman that you're about to hear from, she is a woman that is now an adult, but she first was abused by family members as a child, ran away at 12, met the man who would become her trafficker and even her husband at 13. And take a listen to what she had to say.
How did you survive those years in this life?
I prayed for death every day. I didn't want to endure anymore. And I would call out and have no answer. I just kept going one day after another, enduring the horrific beatings and being told that I am worthless, and broke down that I will never amount to anything.
I mean, what was it like talking to her? That's a really powerful statement she just said.
Well, we talked with her for a while. I mean, I've got chills again listening to it, because for her to have the ability to sit down and talk with this is just unbelievable. When you hear her journey, I mean, she was first sexually abused at 3 years old. I mean, let's just start there. And then to run away, and she said, you know, whatever she was leaving, she was scared, but she wanted to get away from that. And then to run into the arms of somebody that would then push her into this completely other life. I mean, she had one trafficker, was able to get away from him when he was arrested, then ended up with another trafficker. And at the time, I think, you know, we think of it, how does something like that happen? But she said, given her childhood, you know, the I love yous, I will care for you, I'm here to look out for you, I've got you, basically, it really lured her in. And it's only now, honestly, within about the last 4 years, that she has been able to look back and just see how much of a victim she was, and now a survivor that's helping other women as they transition and escape and get out of that life.
Wow, and that is one story you're going to be profiling next week?
Yes, so that will be Monday, and something that we look into with that as well is there are actually still 20 states in the country where children can be arrested for prostitution. And to most places, including Florida, we view that as how a child cannot consent. So how could they be arrested for prostitution? But we are seeing that there are some agencies in our area that weren't even aware of this change in law a few years ago. So just looking at kind of that mentality and the shifting to a victim-centered approach, but also how not everyone is even aware of how we should be treating, especially children that are caught within this. Another angle that we're going to be looking at, again, it's our whole I-Team that has spent a lot of time on this. Our Jackie Calloway, she spoke with a woman who was a victim and then ended up involved in abuse of other women at the hands of her trafficker who was controlling this situation. Here's what she had to say.
Choked me out like several times in front of another girl.
What do you mean choke you out?
Like he would choke me until I lost consciousness.
Multiple times?
Multiple times, over and over again. And he thought it was the funniest thing.
Wow.
I mean, and this is a big deal to be hearing from these individuals who are willing to go on record and share their story and be so open about it. And we can't emphasize this enough. I mean, we are not traveling all over to meet different people. This is right here in our community. Another aspect of this, and there's a lot of stories that we're doing, but our Adam Walzer, what he looked at is the underreporting of boys who are being trafficked and how they are lured in, and it can appear a bit differently sometimes than girls. So he talked with someone about that aspect of this.
A lot of vulnerable, lonely, isolated children do play video games because of that they feel a sense of belonging in a community, and they build the trust and the relationship of those people in the community, and that's how the grooming process starts. A trafficker might friend a victim in one of these online communities and build trust that way, and then decide that they want to meet in person, and then they're whisked into a world that they had no idea they were getting into.
I feel even awful kind of saying this, but I don't even really associate boys with human trafficking. I just kind of really just think women and children and, you know, young girls. So to see that side of the story, that's going to be a pretty powerful piece.
Well, and another aspect that we're hearing more about too is the LGBT community and transgendered boys, and you know, basically people that are kicked out of their homes, go to the streets, and then they can get wrapped up in this world. And so really, you know, we hear human trafficking a lot. I think there's a lot more awareness of just the idea of it, and yes, that it doesn't happen overseas, but what we wanted to look at is beyond that word, what does it mean in terms of how does it present itself here? Where are we seeing this? So we do ride-alongs. I mean, with nonprofits, with investigators that are now retired, of showing us the areas, you know, across from Busch Gardens, some of the hotels there. We went and we're seeing things as they are pointing out, I see this here, that something doesn't look right. I mean, we're with them as they're calling in tips. And this is just, you know, we went out Monday afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, and you didn't have to look far to see things that were concerning involving seemingly young kids. It's something I won't forget.
Wow, very powerful series of pieces you guys all worked on. And again, the first one kicks off tonight at 11, and then the entire next week.
Yes, so tonight is actually at 6, but you're
okay.
right with the 11.
Okay.
Next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all at 11 at night, and then the following Monday. And this is something, we don't want this to just be a one and done. We hope that this will also bring forward other tips, because there's a lot of people. The good news is there's a lot of people who are working in this world helping address this problem in our community. So we think that's another big deal, to show all the work that's being done that people just don't aware of. We were not aware of the level that this is going on.
Absolutely. All right, Kylie, thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing that again tonight at 6 o'clock.